This video will be about exponents and order of operations. So, order of operations is the order you're supposed to simplify a math expression in. It's kind of like when you're getting dressed. You usually put your socks on first before you put on your shoes. It's kind of that idea. You have to do certain mathematical things first before you can do other math operations. So the way to usually remember this is called PEMDAS, and it stands for parentheses, exponents, multiply, divide, add and subtract. It's our way to remember what order to do things in. So one way to remember this saying, this PEMDAS, is please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. It's the first please starts with P, excuse starts with E. It's just a way to remember the order of these letters. So when you're doing when you're simplifying an expression, you have to go in this order. You look for the parentheses first, and you do what's inside the parentheses. Then you look for any exponents. Then you look to multiply and divide. Now these are actually kind of together. The multiply and divide, if you have a whole group of them, you travel from left to right. Same thing with add and subtract. They kind of go together. And if there's a whole group of them, we go left to right. So let's look at a problem. So according to our order of operations, we're going to look for parentheses first. Well, we do have a pair of parentheses, and we're going to simplify everything inside the parentheses. Now when you're looking inside the parentheses, you've got to kind of start over on the order of operations. Inside the parentheses, we look for any other parentheses. We don't have any other parentheses, so we can skip P for inside. Then we look for exponents. So exponents, we have this 3, 2 to the third. So that 3 is saying multiply 2, the base by itself, 3 times. 2 times 2 times 2. Well, we would multiply 2 times 2 first is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. So we've taken care of the exponent. We still have this plus 4 divided by 2 though. So we're just going to bring them down for now. So next we look for multiply and divide. We're looking for those kind of together. We only have one division sign, so we do our 4 divided by 2, which seems weird. We're so used to traveling from left to right because that's how we read, that it's weird to do this right side of the expression before we do anything with the 8. But that's the order we need to do things in. So 4 divided by 2 is 2. Then we look for add and subtract. We're left with add, so we get 10. Well, that was just inside the parentheses. We still have this 5 out front and the minus 7 behind. Those are still part of this problem. So we do still have parentheses in the problem, which is okay, as long as we've simplified to just one number inside the parentheses. So when we use parentheses mathematically, that means multiply. So now between the 5 and the 10, we have a multiply sign. After that is a subtract sign. So we're still looking at our order of operations for this. Yes, there are parentheses, but since we just have one number inside now, we skip to exponents. We don't have any more exponents. We look at multiply and divide. There is a multiply sign, so we would do 5 times 10. which is 50. And then we look for any addition or subtraction, and now we have 50 minus 7, which is 43. And that would be our final answer for this one. We've simplified this big expression at the beginning down to just one number, 43. We can also do this. Sometimes they'll have letters and they'll tell you to replace the letters with certain numbers. Let's say we have 3a squared divided by 6 plus 7b. Let's say a is 4 and b is -1. So before we can even apply our order of operations, we have to replace. We know the letter A is 4. So 3 times, now they didn't write it in, but there is a multiply sign between the A and the 3. They assume you know that it's there. Same thing between the 7 and the B. When there's a number touching a letter, there's really a multiply sign. So 3 times 4 squared divided by 6 plus 7 times -1. Now I can go through and simplify this. I do want to point out that the reason I put a -1 here is because b was -1. And I was trying to show that the 4 was A, so I wanted only that in red. Sorry, I forgot to switch it back. So now we follow our order of operations again. We look for parentheses first. This problem doesn't have any parentheses. So then we move on to exponents. We have 4 squared. That's saying take the base number 4 and multiply it by itself 2 times. That gives me 16. That's the only exponent, so I bring everything else down. We still have 3 times. We still have divided by 6 plus 7 times -1. So now we look for groups of multiplication and division. So we have a multiply sign here, a divide sign here, and a multiply sign down here. If we're separated by this plus sign, that's kind of our cutoff. These first 3 are kind of grouped together, and these last 2 are grouped together because we have times a -1. So we have to go from left to right. 3 times 16 is 48. 48 divided by 6 is 8. We still have the plus sign. 7 times -1 is -7. Now we go to our add and subtract. We've done and taken care of all our multiplication and division signs. We have plus 8 plus a -7, so we add those together, and that gives us a +1. Again, that's our final answer. So with these order of operations, remember we just are literally going in order. That's why they call it order of operations. I want to show one last example though, what can happen if we have 2 sets of parentheses. If we have a set of parentheses inside another set of parentheses. So usually if we're going to end up having more than one set of parentheses, they're going to put brackets. They make the parenthesis more squarish instead of roundish. So when we're looking at this, order of operations again was PEMDAS. We're looking for parentheses first, but now we're kind of confused. We have 2 sets of parentheses. When that happens, we always want to start with the inside set. So we're going to start with the purple set of parentheses because it's inside the blue set. So we do our own order of operations inside just the purple parentheses. Inside the purple parentheses, there's no more parentheses inside them. There's no exponents inside the purple parentheses. We do have a divide sign. 3 divided by 1 would be 3. And we do have an add sign. 3 plus 5 is 8. So now we bring everything else down. We still have the 5, we still have the bracket, we still have 2 squared, and I am going to leave the parenthesis here so we know that it's 2 squared times 8. So we're looking at the Please Excuse My Dear Aunt Sally again. We have our brackets. Now this time I'm not counting the purple parentheses as part of our PEMDAS, it's counted as a multiply sign. The reason why is because now inside the parentheses there's only one number, whereas the blue, we still have a whole bunch of stuff to simplify. So inside the blue brackets, even though the parentheses are written around the 8, we're going to ignore them. They're not part of the operations because there's only one number inside. Just the number 8 instead of having a couple of things going on. Exponents, we have 2 squared. That would be 4 times 8 minus 8 still. We just brought everything else down. So we've done our exponents. We look for any multiplication or division. We have a multiply sign. That would give us 32. And then add and subtract. 32 minus 8 is 24. Again, we still need to bring down this 5, and we can leave the brackets around the 24, again, just so you know that this is not 5/24, but that it's 5 times 24. So our last operation is multiply. Yes, there are parentheses here, but the whole purpose of the parenthesis part is to simplify what's inside the parentheses. Once that's been done, then we just look at it as multiplication. So we would do 5 times 24, which ends up being 120. Hopefully this was helpful. If not, please feel free to contact me and I will talk about it with you and answer any other questions you have.